California's Great America in June of 2022 was announced to be on track to close in just 11 years to make way for a new development in the city of Santa Clara, California. Cedar Fair sold the park, and since then, we haven't seen any attractions be removed. In fact, we've witnessed Cedar Fair renovate some previous attractions. But in a recent off-season event held by Valley Fair, it was confirmed that Cedar Fair's plan, while no specific rides have been selected yet, is to relocate certain rides to other Cedar Fair parks if the park actually closes. Which coasters or flats could these be? Let's dissect each coaster and some flats at California's Great America and see which rides will make their way around the chain. Let's start in the front of the park with the newly renovated B&M floorless back in 2017, Patriot. I believe this is one of the coasters that will be getting relocated. Patriot isn't anything special, but it would make for a fantastic looping coaster with a tight plot of land and two inversions, a loop and a corkscrew. I could see different locations for this decent looping coaster. The first is, of course, Michigan's Adventure. You're going to see Michigan's Adventure on here a ton because, to be honest, they need anything they can get. They have one crappy invert, 3 Woodies, a Wild Mouse, and 1 old Aero Looper, and that's about it. Patriot would be a fantastic addition to Michigan's Adventure, adding a floorless model, the smoothest coaster in the park most likely, more inversions to a park with only 2 inverting coasters, and just a new addition to this park could bring life into a forgotten area. There is tons of room in between Thunderhawk and Shivering Timbers for this little floorless coaster. The other park is Valley Fair. Valley Fair has a better lineup, but only 1 inverting coaster with a corkscrew model. A new floorless coaster with 2 additional inversions and the plenty of space in the park, especially up front near the entrance, would provide another ride to bring back life in the park. I would also say Dorney Park, but we already know that they are getting a new coaster, most likely an inverting dive coaster, so it's unnecessary, especially when they already have Hydra. Flight Deck is a B&M invert that opened way back in 1993, and believe it or not, I think this has one of the greatest chances of being relocated. Flight Deck is still going strong, and we've seen inverts get relocated before with a couple of Batman clones, so a small-scale invert being relocated isn't out of the question. Flight Deck has a compact layout with some very intense moments that would be great for 2 parks in the chain, the first of which is, of course, Valley Fair. We discussed Valley Fair, so we know they require another inverting coaster. A new inverting coaster would work wonders for Valley Fair. Also, a new intense coaster in the park really lacking an intense ride would be great. The same goes for King's Dominion. After the removal of Volcano, King's Dominion has no inverted roller coaster. They don't really need inversions, but they really need an invert. I think this is less likely than the previous Valley Fair, so if this was added, it would definitely not be the full replacement for Volcano or anything. King's Dominion most likely has a huge ride prepared for the Volcano replacement. However, that helix on Flight Deck near the water would be great with King's Dominion's lake in the center of the park. Psycho Mouse is the first coaster that I think will not be relocated. There are only a couple of these Aero Mouse coasters, 2 of which reside in the Cedar Fair chain at Valley Fair and Michigan's Adventure. No park in the chain really needs a Wild Mouse coaster, as they either already have one or have rides similar to them. Psycho Mouse will be scrapped, and the parts from the coaster will be used as maintenance parts for Mad Mouse at Valley Fair and Michigan's Adventure, so the smaller parks can keep these rare coasters running. Unfortunately for Grizzly, it's older, it's wooden, and it's one of the most unpopular rides in the park. Grizzly isn't rough, but it does absolutely nothing with its layout, and because of the wooden structure, it makes it more challenging to relocate. Grizzly is definitely going to be scrapped, and no park in the chain even needs this ride. Demon is in a similar boat to Psycho Mouse. Demon is an old Aero Looper that is definitely nearing the end of its service life, and no park in the chain really needs an Aero Looper. The ride is decent, but is getting old, would be difficult to relocate, and also just doesn't need to be moved. Demon will be scrapped, but the parts, just like Vortex, will be used on other arrows in the chain, like Anaconda, all 3 Corkscrews, Dragonfire, and Carolina Cyclone. Railblazer is one of the most popular models right now, the single rail coaster, and is arguably the best coaster in the park and definitely the most intense. Railblazer will be one of the most popular coasters at any park it's relocated to, but which park? So many parks could use this new coaster. There are 5 that come to mind immediately. The first 4 are the 4 smaller parks, which all need it for the same reason. They need investment and intense coasters. These are Valley Fair, Michigan's Adventure, Dorney Park, and Worlds of Fun. The most likely of these are the first 2, Valley Fair and Michigan's Adventure, because both Worlds of Fun and Dorney are receiving a coaster in 2023 or one in the near future. And let me throw in an oddball prediction, Kings Island. Kings Island, I've always said, needs a really intense coaster. Mystic Timbers is relatively intense, but Kings Island still lacks a coaster of that nature. This could be a cheaper filler coaster that could fit over an action zone in the Invertigo plot. It would upgrade the front gate, bring people back to that section, and also get rid of the maintenance headache that is Invertigo. Goldstriker is the second newest coaster in the park besides Railblazer, and is another wooden coaster. However, unlike the previous Grizzly, I think Goldstriker has a pretty high chance of being relocated to 2 possible parks. One of these parks is Dorney Park. If Cedar Fair regularly invests in Dorney after this next dive coaster, I think the next coaster that could be relocated is Goldstriker. This is because Dorney needs an intense coaster and also a new wooden coaster, as Thunderhawk is 99 years old. The other prediction may be an odd prediction, but Carowinds also needs a new wooden coaster to join the very sucky Hurler. I stated in my 5-year plan video that Carowinds could get a GCI in the old River Rapids spot. What if this GCI was Goldstriker? Before we end off the video, let's talk about some smaller flat rides that could get relocated. I won't go through all of them, just the main ones. The first is Orbit. This is an old Enterprise ride, most of which have been removed from the chain. However, Worlds of Fun and Carowinds both have a ride called Zulu. They are old, so Orbit could be used as parts for these rides. Another ride in this park is Drop Tower. There is really only one park I am thinking in the chain that doesn't have a drop tower, and that is of course Michigan's Adventure. A good drop tower could bring some guests into the park, and there are even some great spots near the central lake for some views. You may even be able to see Lake Michigan from this drop tower. Drop tower could also be used as parts for the other Intamin drop towers in the chain, most notably the one at Carowinds or Canada's Wonderland. Tiki Twirl is another flat ride in the park, and this one's kind of interesting, because, to my knowledge, there isn't another Cedar Fair park in the chain that has a ride like this. However, Carowinds is getting a very similar style ride to this, so I'm wondering if Tiki Twirl at California's Great America, instead of being relocated, will be scrapped in the parts used on the new Carowinds attraction, or maybe even this ride can be scrapped in the parts used for other parks. I know Six Flags St. Louis has one, and Silver Dollar City has one. Or, the ride could just be relocated. Michigan's Adventure, again, needs a good flat ride, so a flat ride like this will be great at a park like that. Even at Dorney Park, this ride could be very good at Dorney Park, who really doesn't have a spinny flat ride. The last one I will talk about is Delirium. There are really 2 possibilities for Delirium. The first is that the ride gets scrapped and used for parts on the other Frisbee rides in the chain like Delirium at King's Dominion. However, the preferred decision would be to relocate Delirium to Carowinds. Carowinds has always needed a good pendulum ride. They have no ride in the park like it, and to give it a space or flight theme and send it to the new Aeronautica landing section would be a fantastic decision from the marketing team. Every other ride in the park will either be relocated to a smaller park or used for parts. I didn't think any of them were worth mentioning. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Comment where you think these rides will head, and have a great rest of your day.